Have you ever faced a moment when everything seemed to fall apart and you wondered why life was being so unfair? What if that setback is actually the setup for a breakthrough? Stick around. This story might change how you see those moments of hardship forever. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if the story inspires you. Share it with someone who needs hope today. A ship was destroyed in a terrible storm, and all the passengers drowned in the sea, all except one man. By the grace of God, he miraculously survived and washed ashore on a desolate island. Furious waves had tossed him like a rag doll, but somehow he clung to life. When he finally regained consciousness and opened his eyes, the eerie silence of isolation surrounded him. The island was barren, with only the sound of crashing waves and the rustling of palm leaves breaking the stillness. As soon as the man woke up, he knelt down and prayed fervently, "Oh God, please help me. Please send me some help." His voice echoed into the vast emptiness, but no reply came. Days passed, and he spent his nights shivering on the cold, sandy beach, under a canopy of stars that seemed to mock his loneliness. Each morning, he prayed to God again, but still no help arrived. A few days passed like this, and he began to lose hope. His faith wavered, and he wondered if God had abandoned him. But then, a spark of determination ignited within him. He thought, "If no one is coming to save me, I must save myself." Accepting his fate, he decided to make the best of his situation. He gathered wood and grass to build a small hut for shelter. The hut became a refuge for his dwindling spirit as he salvaged items from the broken ship: a rusty knife, a few pieces of cloth, and a cracked pot. To survive, he ate coconuts and caught fish with makeshift tools. Each day was a battle, but he fought to keep hope alive. One day, while preparing food, he lit a fire near his hut. The savory aroma of his meal filled the air, giving him a rare moment of joy. For the first time in weeks, he felt a sense of accomplishment. But when he returned from gathering more wood, he was devastated to see his hut engulfed in flames. The crackling flames devoured everything he had painstakingly built: his shelter, his tools, and his meager possessions. Overwhelmed with sorrow and anger, he raised his fist to the sky and shouted, "Oh God, I asked for your help, and you ignored me. Now you've taken away my only shelter. How could you be so cruel?" His cries echoed across the island, but only the wind answered. Disheartened, he spent the night on the beach, bitterly complaining to God until exhaustion overtook him. The next morning, he was startled awake by a loud noise. As he opened his eyes, he couldn't believe what he saw. A ship was approaching the island. Overjoyed, he ran toward the shore, waving his arms and shouting for help. When the ship's crew rescued him, he asked the captain, "How did you know I was here?" The captain replied, "We saw your fire signal from a distance and came to investigate." The man was stunned. "But I didn't send any fire signal," he said. The captain smiled and said, "We came here only because of that fire." At that moment, the man remembered his burning hut. He realized that what he had seen as a tragedy was actually a blessing in disguise, God's way of signaling for his rescue. He understood that God's plan was far greater and wiser than his own. Humbled and grateful, he began to thank God for the very fire that had destroyed his shelter. As the ship sailed away from the island, the man looked back one last time. The island, once a prison of despair, now symbolized a lesson he would carry for the rest of his life. Even in our darkest moments, there is a purpose we cannot yet see. In our lives, we often make plans and set expectations, but things don't always go our way. When trouble strikes, our faith wavers, our patience wears thin, and our hope fades. We start complaining, wondering why God allows difficulties to happen. Yet, it is precisely in these challenging moments that we must hold on to faith. God has a purpose and a plan for each and every one of us. While we may not understand it at the time, His plan is always bigger, bolder, and better than anything we could imagine. This story also reminds us of the power of self-reliance and community. The man's determination to survive on his own was crucial, but it was the collective effort of the ship's crew that ultimately saved him. In life, we must do our part, but we must also remain open to the help and support of others. So whenever your plans seem to be failing and life feels like it's going against your wishes, remember, perhaps God has a greater plan for you. Keep making your efforts, trust in the Almighty, and never lose heart. Together, your determination and God's blessings can overcome any obstacle. Always remember, God's plan is greater than yours. If this story inspired you, let us know in the comments below. Share your own experiences of overcoming adversity. How did you find hope in the midst of hardship? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that uplift and inspire. Together, we can remind each other that even in the darkest moments, there's always a light waiting to guide us home.